In just 3 years, Iran's currency, the rial, has lost nearly 70% of its value, plummeting to a record low of approximately $1.42 million to the US dollar. This collapse has triggered the largest nationwide protests since 2022, forced the resignation of the central bank chief, and led merchants to shut down Tehran's symbolic Grand Bazaar. The unfolding crisis represents a pivotal stress test for the Islamic Republic, threatening to destabilize its economic future and political legitimacy. The situation is not sudden, but the culmination of years of U.S. sanctions, economic mismanagement, and geopolitical isolation. The 2015 nuclear deal temporarily stabilized the currency, but the U.S. withdrawal in 2018 and the reimposition of severe sanctions shattered Iran's access to global banking and hard currency, leading to rampant inflation. Officially over 42%, inflation exceeds 70% for food prices, eroding wages and savings, and making basic necessities unaffordable for ordinary Iranians. This economic freefall is deeply intertwined with Iran's political structure. Since 1979, the regime has maintained power through a hybrid system: ideological authority enforced by security institutions and economic control managed by state bodies and loyal elites. The Grand Bazaar, a historic intersection of commerce and public sentiment, has repeatedly been a bellwether of unrest. The current protests signify a failure of this system to deliver stability, with economic pain now mobilizing traditionally cautious groups like traders and small business owners. The regime's response: currency controls, arrests of traders, and promises of stabilization, has proven ineffective, creating a cycle where temporary market pauses are followed by further decline. The central bank chief's resignation signaled an admission that technocratic fixes cannot solve a crisis rooted in political constraints. Public confidence in institutions and leadership is eroding rapidly. Simultaneously, Iran faces intensifying external pressures: the reinstatement of UN nuclear sanctions and the constant shadow of regional conflict, including a recent brief war with Israel, heighten fears of wider confrontation and further economic devastation. This combination of internal dissent and external pressure creates a volatile dynamic where economic collapse fuels unrest, unrest invites repression, and repression deepens Iran's isolation. The future presents two precarious pathways. First, protests could expand beyond economic grievances, merging with broader political demands to form a potent coalition that challenges the regime, forcing a choice between large-scale repression or risky concessions. Second, authorities might temporarily stabilize the currency through stricter controls and crackdowns, but this would deepen economic distortions, fuel black market activity, and hollow out long-term growth, normalizing a model of permanent crisis management. The implications extend far beyond Iran's borders. Regional stability is at stake. A weakened Iran could recalibrate its support for allied groups in Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, and Yemen, while a regime under internal pressure might provoke external tensions to rally nationalist sentiment. Globally, Iran's vast oil and gas reserves mean any disruption adds volatility to energy markets. South Asian nations like India and Pakistan monitor the situation closely due to impacts on trade corridors and security. Ultimately, Iran's crisis underscores a broader global trend. Economic warfare via sanctions can weaken states, but often entrenches hardliners and shifts suffering onto civilians, complicating diplomacy and increasing systemic risk. The collapse of the rial is a symptom of a deeper crisis of confidence. The situation is a test of a political system designed to endure pressure but not necessarily to adapt. As the protests show, when money stops working and basic economic security vanishes, political power is forced to explain itself, a process that, historically, rarely unfolds quietly. The world is watching how a regime built on revolutionary endurance navigates this existential challenge to its economic and political foundations.